Hello. Give me just a minute here while I get my other recorder going. I have to switch the way I did things here. All right. This is nice to join you on the path. Today's episode is called Return of the Mystic. Now, what am I talking about? Am I talking about myself, or what am I talking about? Well, I guess I don't go around calling myself a mystic. But if you look up the definition, I guess I fit the term. But I fit the definition. And what I'm seeing today is March 29th. It's 9:11 p.m. Sunday. And most of the country, world is on lockdown because of the coronavirus. And there's a lot of people freaking out. There's people dying. There's people recovering. There's people that say it's not even as bad as the regular flu that wipes out however many thousands of people. Well, maybe. So what do we need in these times? Are you asking the government to do more? You're asking for someone that has a lot of money to do more? The rich guy? You need to do more. This is the Republicans' fault, This is the Democrats' fault, This is the rich people's fault. They spend their money on this other stuff when they could be spending it on whatever it is that we wish they would spend it on, right? What is the best way to go about dealing with the current situation? And there's always the apocalypse, right? It's always the best of times and the worst of times. So I see, scrolling through Facebook, I see these posts that are from different, you could say, religious or spiritual points of view that say, well, Mother Earth is punishing us for what we have done. We're going against nature, and she's had enough. Well, and then you scroll down a little bit, and it's instead of the earth, it's God that's had enough, because we're not, praying to Jesus enough or something. So there's all of these different perspectives, in a way, saying the same thing, right? So whether somebody's talking about Mother Earth, God, nature, whatever, we're being punished for not living in accordance with the law of the greater good or whatever. So think of all the pollution, the evils of our burning oil. Was life better before that? Was life better before pollution? I'd say no. That's why it's so popular. Okay? Now, of course, people don't have the intent to pollute. People have the intent to make life better. It could start with themselves. It could, and providing products to other people, a car, Was life better without cars? And yeah, you could say, oh, we started out with electric cars. We started out with steam-powered cars and this. Okay. And it was the evil oil companies that thwarted development. Thwarted? Is that the word? That stopped the development of such things. And okay. Fair enough. That could be true. Is that why you don't drive your car? Oh, you do drive your car. Okay. So why haven't you done something about it? Why hasn't your favorite political guy, woman, done anything about it? Where is their car company that just makes stuff out of what you want them to make it out of and run it off of what you want them to make it out of? Where is your political oil savior, oil savior, right? And we have like guys like Elon Musk who is doing something about that. What happens to those batteries? They just turn into tofu fertilizer? What happens to those? So these solutions that we've been given from the generations leading up to now have solved problems that current people are not even aware of because we haven't had to deal with them for a large part, right? So, of course, I believe that things can get better. But is it a stretch to say that God, Mother Nature, the earth, whatever, is punishing us for not living the way we're supposed to live? I would say no. I don't think that makes sense. If you look back to, times say like, okay, the Native Americans, okay, so who were supposedly living within nature, even didn't they make some species go extinct and stuff? I don't know. They didn't have the technology to pollute, so it's easy to kind of look at some in some cultures in a way that's it's convenient, but it's not the whole truth. So there were warring tribes all over this place, and there was no shortage of cruelty. Is that why nature punished them with diseases and hard times? Well, we can't say for sure, right? But right now, 2020, so I used to drive a cab. And one of my regular passengers was this woman from Nigeria. And she came here to get an education. I think she was about 30 years old or something like that. Late 20s, married, to a Nigerian guy. They both came here. And so her plan was to her plan was to get an education here and take it back to Nigeria to help Nigerians. Because you could go to a hospital in Nigeria, and if they don't know what the illness is, according to her, someone that lived there most of her life, she said they'll still blame it on the spirits. Okay. So, and there's no cure over there. Where here it's like, oh, I'll give you this sample of this. Here's a shot of penicillin. Boom, you're done. Next, problem solved. Over there, it's not the same. It's not that they have zero technology. It's that they don't have what we have in the U.S. And so, which is more useful? Blaming it on the spirits and not having a solution? Or, no, I don't know exactly where their knowledge deficits are compared to what we have in the U.S. Like what they're like really good at treating compared to what they're not. I don't know. I'm sure there are people that are actively working on that all the time. So I'm sure their knowledge is getting greater and greater all the time. They're just not as far as we are. But let's say, so a side note, I've been catching a couple good whiffs of this incense. This incense is from probably 2003, 2004. It was incense that my dad gave my mom. My dad died in 2005. And so my dad gave some to my mom. So it must have been in 2004, maybe early 2005, because I know where it came from. It came from Nashville, Indiana. And when my dad died, my mom gave me the incense that he gave to her. So this incense that I'm burning right now is at least 15 years old. I have several sticks left, not a lot. But I thought today would be a good day to burn some for this show. So maybe now is a good time to think about whatever that is that reminded you of. So, what's important? What's useful? Okay. So if we're looking at this disease, this virus, as some kind of punishment for the way we've been living, what are you going to do about it? Okay. And maybe it is, in a way, useful to think that way. If you're talking about changing what you prioritize, your hierarchy of values, how can you be more useful? Okay. Instead of saying, well, that rich guy or those Republicans or those whatevers need to do this or that. Okay. I'm not saying don't have ideas for how our whole can become greater. But what are you going to do? You know. So I had a good conversation with, she's an ex-girlfriend of mine. We talked for 2 hours today and we recorded it. And I'm going to publish that. At first, she sent me a message this morning just asking me how I was doing. And she said, like, just talking over text is kind of getting to her. I was like, well, she said, she'd like to, talk and meet up for a coffee or something. And but because of everything that's going on, maybe it's best to not exactly do that. So I said, do you want to have a Zoom meeting? And I was like, I'll make my coffee and, just give me a few minutes. And she did. And we recorded 2 hours of a conversation. And we were talking about how, we've talked about it before. She does well. She works for, I don't want to say who, but let's say medical diagnostic field. And she does well. She's, it's I guess relevant to say she makes more money than me by a good amount. I do pretty well, but she's, you know, has me lapped a couple times, you could say. But so we, even when we were together, which it's been a while, she was like talking about the construct of money and how it kind of bothered her, how it was all set up, and she's coming at it from somebody who has plenty. But she, I guess, is looking at people that don't, and just seeing how it all works. But I don't want to get too much into that. You can just listen to that episode. But we were also talking about like what it means to be a man, and I forget what brought that up, or what it means to be a woman, or what it means to be successful or useful, and she talks about how, if we didn't have, this construct, a different construct of money, and and I readily admit there's a lot of areas she's a whole lot smarter than me. So when she's talking about this stuff, I don't just say. I try to listen to learn and understand better, not to just try to beat her with my own thoughts that I already thunk. She was talking about how, being on a more spiritual path, and I'm like, well, what I'm doing now is I've been on, you could say, a spiritual path since I was a little kid. I mean, I was deep into yogic philosophy as a early teenager. I got my first 2 yoga books when I was 15 years old, 1994, at a Grateful Dead concert, and it was all like Krishna consciousness stuff. It wasn't up dog, down dog, stuff like that. It was the philosophy, the spiritual part of it. And even before then, my friends and I were meditating, and we were taking psychedelics, but in a way to, as a spiritual journey, or at least that's what we were telling ourselves. That was the intent. And even when I was a very little kid, I was, you could say, on a spiritual path, and I remember, and I've only mentioned it once, and I think I only told one person in person. But I think I mentioned it on the show once before, maybe a couple times. But when I was probably about 7, when I would go to sleep, I would pray, and I would tell God that He could use my energy while I'm asleep to help other people. I have no idea where I got that idea. I don't know that I got it from anywhere except somewhere in my own head or heart or whatever this thing is that I'm walking around in, or using to pilot this thing I walk around in, right? I got it from my own consciousness as far as I know. And so I would go to sleep that way, and I always had trouble sleeping at night, so maybe that was part of it. Maybe God's taking all my sleeping energy or something, I don't know, or not enough or whatever. But I guess and there were times when I was asking at a very early age, younger than 10 years old, to be revealed the truth, and the stuff was coming at me pretty hard, you could say, and I prayed to close that valve off, God. Fuck. I mean, that's enough. Okay, let it trickle in, but it got to be too much. There's I heard a quote, I think it was by Carl Jung, that was you can tell You can measure a man by how much truth he could take, or something like that. um, where was I? So, anyways, I've been on this path, you could say, this mystic path, even, which it kind of sounds corny to me, but whatever. For most of my life, and you know, what good is it? You know, it's like, what do I have to show for it? And well, you could say I have a lot to show for it. But when I think about now and how useful I can be to other people, like, so I don't have a lot of money. So if people need money, I'm not a lot of use. I give a little bit here and there. I do give some. If friends need help moving, I'm there. I never ask for to be paid for it. I'm not trying to like brag about what I can do. I'm just trying to give examples of, what people can do. I've traveled a little bit of a distance to help people move. All on my own dime. Didn't ask anything for it. Just whatever. I mean, it's not like some great thing. I'm trying to give small examples. Okay. I'm not trying to make it sound like some amazing thing that I did. But those kind of things are things that can help others a lot. Okay. It means something. And so when I was talking to my ex today, and we were talking about construct, like money and like business stuff and the spirituality, and I know I'm kind of all over the place here, but I think everybody can follow along. If you're listening to this show, you can probably follow along pretty well, because if you're listening, I'm assuming that you're already awake and open. So what I'm looking at now, even though I always have some kind of spiritual books being read, I'm looking at like business as a spiritual path, and a way to kind of like measure my progress. Okay. So it's always been something that has been difficult for me, and I don't even like admitting it, but for some reason, making a comfortable amount of money, it seems like there's always something like cutting my legs out from under me. And I do okay. I mean, even in this thing, I have what I call my job. It's still going. It's an essential part of the manufacturing, so we're still going, still getting paid, still, But I have a gym. Nobody's going to it right now. Okay, that's not good. I do have clients that I'm seeing online. That is good. I started an eBay business. Okay, and this was about 7 weeks ago, something like that. And I started out after just a couple weeks, like things were starting to move along pretty well. And I got a performance increase, because when you start selling on eBay, you get, they limit how much you can sell. Usually it's like 10 things. Okay. And then, because they have to make sure you're not a scammer, they got to make sure you're shipping the stuff out quickly. They have to make sure you're just legit and you're treating it like a legit business. And so I had my account for 2 years, even though I didn't do anything with it until 7 weeks ago. And so I was at 30 things that I could sell. Got this performance increase to 170 after just a few weeks. And when I talked to a customer service person, she said that she rarely sees that. And so today's the 29th. In just a couple days, it's going to go up again. Okay. So a couple weeks into my selling, things are going well, and I'm learning how to do it. There's because you have to get products from somewhere. I started off selling products stuff I already had, and because I was like learning it, because when you start off, you're gonna make little mistakes. You're gonna make shipping mistakes. You're gonna spend too much on shipping. You're gonna make little mistakes that cost you a few dollars here and there while you're fine tuning what you're doing, and so. Like, okay, now I'm starting to find where I'm going to get stuff to resell. Okay, well, that's great, but you got to find out what you're going to resell also. So I was getting that dialed in. Like, okay, I can get this kind of stuff. I can look for this kind of stuff. I can learn more about this kind of stuff. And of course, I'm going to take a lot of, all these things. Imagine all the different kinds of products there are. Okay, I'll sell almost anything. But you can't just like start off with everything. You gotta, it really helps to kind of like zero in on couple of things to learn about. And so I had that figured out. And then a couple weeks is going by. I'm putting videos on YouTube. Here's how to make money on eBay. And I'm being real honest with how much I made. And then things are going great. And I'm seeing how I can increase, and I just keep building and building and building and building. But now all those places are closed. Okay. So I had some unpleasant business thing happen. I had a way that I figured out around it where I can keep on keeping on, and I can grow this thing. And then for the first time ever, these places are closed. Okay, well, what are you going to do? I'm going to blame it on somebody. It's Trump's fault. That's helpful, isn't it? No. I'm not blaming it on Trump, the Democrats, Republicans, or whoever else. Not blaming it on anybody. I'm looking at myself. Well, what can I do different? I just took a shot to the chin. Okay, I'm back up. Here we go, and rolling with the punches. So then I started. Okay, I'm going to start buying stuff online. I'm going to start auctions. Okay, well, I paid more for products. I bought three pairs of shoes at auction. And so I should be able to make a profit off of them. Not as much as if I bought them from the other places where I was getting stuff. But I bought them at auction. Paid $55 for 3 pairs of shoes. I should still be able to make money. I get 2 pairs of shoes shipped to me. And I look up for the third. They already paid for them. They're closed. They might be shipping them out. It might be a while. Okay. Who am I going to blame for that? Right? What good does it do? Right? So what's a man? What's a man to do? Well, you want to be a man with a plan. And I learn a lot from Jordan Peterson. I listen to him regularly. And I was listening to in his 12 Rules for Life, and he was talking about how there's like the structure in our brain that even if the plan is not very good, or it will still make other people feel better knowing that you have one. Okay, we can kind of see how that's true, right? That's not crazy, is it? At least he has a plan. Okay, at least he has something. Okay, so I have a partner at my gym. I have 2 partners, actually. Not to get too personal, but I know some people are in financial difficulties with their gym. So I'll say that one of my partners isn't really, he was contributing to the rent and now he's not. He will be again. There's just some other stuff happening first. He's still a partner. There's no problem. There was no problem at all. It's just at the moment he's not actually contributing money. My other partner is. Okay. I'm the only one on the lease. The lease is up in a week. Nobody's coming to the gym. It's up to me whether that lease gets signed or not. Do you sign another lease with 0 people coming and a complete unknown of how long these troubles are going to last? Because I'll tell you, after these troubles, there's more. There's more coming. And there may be more coming before these troubles are over. That's the way life has always been. You're not guaranteed a cozy spot here on Spaceship Earth. I'm signing the lease. My buddy partner is with me. He agreed that we should keep going. How long can I expect him to pay if he's not on the lease and he has 0 business there? Well, the man with the plan, that's me. Okay. So my plan is I'm giving him all the benefit that he deserves. I'm giving my other partner all the benefit of trust that he deserves, which both of them is a lot. I trust them both completely, and I guess they trust me too, right? So if there does come to a time when it makes no sense for them to have any business there, which doesn't seem too likely, but who knows, then I can turn that spot into my resale warehouse. It's in an office building. Don't pay a lot for rent. The electricity's included. The Wi-Fi's included. It's more than I want to pay by myself. But the reason I picked that place is because I can do it by myself, and I can have a lot of things go wrong and still do it by myself. So my plan is to have a place that people can do their thing. This situation, parts of it are out of my control, but what is in my control, what is in my power, is whether I sign my name on that lease again or not. And I'm going to, right? So I also have, and this isn't just talk about what I'm doing. This is about, it's like there's a book. I asked make a long story short. There was this guy. He was the regional manager of this place I used to work, and he just seemed like he had a lot of money, and he was really cool. He'd come by, he'd talk to us, he'd shake our hands. Our hands would be filthy, dirty. He'd shake our hands and treat everybody, and he'd tell us he appreciated us, and I'm sure he meant it. He did mean it. And a real cool guy. His name was Bob, and he was about to be retiring, and he knew that I had just opened a gym. This was a year ago. And I was talking to him about that, and I asked him what business book he would recommend. And he said, start with why. That's the name of the book. I'm like, okay. So I got the book, read the book. And so my why has been pretty obvious, although it's been more solidified over time. But what I want to do is show people their strength. Okay, so yes, I want people to actually be able to lift more weight, be stronger so they can be more useful in case somebody asks them to help them move, or if they, whatever. To show people their strength, but not just their physical strength, but their inner strength also. Okay, so another thing that we have going, and it was canceled, there was this rendezvous for White Pine Wilderness Academy, and there were already like 30 or 40 tickets sold to this thing. It was a 3-day camp out from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday was filled with like skills training, and it was unveiling the southeast part of the 8 Shields model, which is what me, my friend Joey, Richie are the instructors of, and then Matt, the owner, is also masterminding the whole thing along with. So there are already 30, 40, I forget what he said, tickets sold. It's canceled. Okay, because of the Corona thing. So a few days ago, he sent a message to the Southeast instructors. And the Southeast, it's like we're teaching martial arts, strength training, like tree climbing, like all kinds of like natural lifting, like lifting stones and logs and carrying people distances and doing stuff like that. And Matt is a year older than me. And I'm 10 years older than Joey, 15 years older than Richie. But Matt sends us a message, and I was like reading some uncertainty in it, and it basically asking us if we're still wanting to go along with developing these classes. And of course, he doesn't know when they would be able to be picked back up. But I was reading some uncertainty in the tone of his message to us. And I responded first. I always try to respond first. And I said, yes. I was like, we've already put a lot of effort into this. We may have to adjust the plan as time goes along, but yeah, let's stick with it. Let's keep going. We've already, made a lot of plans for this. And then the other guys answered that they were in too. Now imagine if, and Matt said that, yeah, White Pine wanted to go along, keep going with the plan also. Who knows what it'll be and when. We know what it'll be, but the exact details are still unknown. That's okay. But we have the plan. The plan is to keep going. It's not a solid plan. Here's every detail spelled out. But imagine if I said, no, these are tough times. Let's just forget about it. Now, I'm not saying the other guys would just follow suit and say, okay. Maybe they would say, no, man, come on. We can do this. They very well might have. But when then it seemed like the other guys were able to build from that. Like, yes, here's the plan. This is what we're going to do. We're going. And we'll adjust as necessary. These partners of mine are fucking awesome. mean, all three of those guys are just awesome. And I'm really honored is not an exaggeration to be. I'm honored to be part of that group. So I mentioned like being like older than the other two. Well, you can figure out what I mean by that. So when somebody has a plan, it feels better than when there's no plan. There's structure in the brain. But to get back to the business as building the business as a spiritual journey, just like in every other journey that we're going to take, there's going to be difficulties, and sometimes it's just unreal. Like for the first time ever, I just got going on this thing, a couple weeks before, and now the places are closed. So I see this like, okay, cool. Now I have it figured out. Not that everything's going to be easy. I have to drive around all over town to go to these places. I have to buy them. I'm investing, and who knows when the stuff will sell, but it will probably eventually. It's not like everything is super easy and moves fast, but it can, the plan was set and then it got cut out from under me. Okay. Well, I still have it really good compared to many people, and I'm very aware of that. But it's how I'm adjusting, and what can I pass on, and what, besides, some of these viruses being so contagious, so is our attitudes. Our attitudes are contagious. So if I can pass something on, it's an attitude of strength and willpower and determination that's unstoppable. And there will be frustrations along the way, and it's not that I don't have my moments of weakness, and they disgust me. I hate weakness. I don't like to see it in other people, and I hate it in myself even worse. And hate is not an exaggeration. I don't like it at all. So I was like, I have some shoes that I'm selling, and I have my eBay set up where I just sell to the United States. Okay. So a guy from Brazil sends me a message, and he wants one of the pairs of shoes. And so I asked a buddy of mine that did really well with eBay, and he's like, "Nah, I wouldn't even mess with it. It's not worth the hassle." And I was talking to somebody else about other stuff, and then that popped up, and he kind of said the same thing. I was like, don't even mess with that. Like, okay. So I told the guy basically, I just don't do that. And that was like a week or so ago. Well, he sends me another message yesterday, and he's like, why won't you ship to Brazil? He's like, I order stuff from the U.S. all the time. And I did check him out, and he had 100% satisfaction rating, and it looked legit. He looked like everything looked legit. I thought, well, I'm in the selling business, not the keeping business. I'm gonna go ahead and accept it. So I changed the setting on that pair of shoes that I would ship internationally. And then he paid for the shipping. The shoes were $31. Shipping was $40. So he paid more for the shipping than he did the shoes. But he said they're so expensive in Brazil that it was worth it for him. He said because of the taxes and everything they have, they just cost too much there. I'm like, okay, fine. So I go to print out the label. So he pays. eBay puts a hold on the money. They took it from him, but they're not giving it to me yet until he gets the shoes. And they did this one time before. I've sold a lot of things, and I get the money right away. But for I sold like golf clubs, and for some reason they withheld the money from me. I sold a pair of shoes that were the same price as the golf clubs, and they did not hold the money. I got the money right away. And then I got these pair of shoes sent out, and they held the money. So I print out the ticket, and it cost me $40. Okay, so before I actually received the money, he already paid. They're holding it. I had to pay $40 to print out the shipping, and I have this small printer. You can see this printer here, and I have a printer that my clients gave me. It was generous. It wouldn't work for them. They thought it was just because of the Bluetooth. So I tried to print out the label, but it had like the customs thing, and it printed out basically what should have been a big label on my small roll that I use for other stuff that doesn't have all this customs information on it. So you couldn't even read it. Great. So I tried to hook up the other printer, and I couldn't get it to work. It might be because I don't know how to work the thing. It might be because there is a problem. It could be because I'm just missing something. I've never had a printer like that before. So I couldn't print it out. So now I'm frustrated because all I want to do is print out this freaking label. It already took my money. My money got taken off. The money I was supposed to receive is being held. The $40 I had to pay up front was already paid for. It prints off a label that's not even legible. And I spend all this time trying to hooking up this other printer, and I can't figure it out. I'm just going to cancel this order, forget it. And then I was like, well, if I cancel it, why even get the refund for the postage? And then I'm getting frustrated about it. And then, so I send a message to my buddy. It's like, can I send you a copy of this thing and you can print it out? I'll pick it up tomorrow. I was like, I can't. He's like, yeah, no problem. So I was like, I'm typing this thing out to him. I start out frustrated, and as I'm typing it out, I kind of just start laughing. Because it's like, this is your problem? This is what you're so frustrated about? That's weak. That's pathetic. Right? Oh, wow, you're having trouble printing a label. Boo-hoo. Google African kid. That's trouble. I mean, how many kids in Africa are doing well? It's not a lot. Okay? And you imagine, a guy who has it as good as I do, starting to get frustrated about not being able to print a label out. Or to have to pony up $40 to ship these shoes out. So it's like, worst case scenario, I lose $40 in a pair of shoes. Okay. That's not acceptable. But as I'm typing this out to my friend, asking him if so I send him an email. He'll print it out. It's not convenient. He doesn't live that far from me. He lives by a post office. It's not that big of a deal. I'll go there, put the thing on. We'll be right on down the road. Whatever. So, anyways, what we look for, what's it mean to be a man? What's it mean to be the mystic? The whatever is to be able to see the greater truth and the greater way in these problems. Okay. It's always these crazy times, right? The apocalypse is always happening, right? So I guess what I do hope for people is they can find their strength and not look for others to save them. And one of the things that I won't spoil it if you want to listen to the show that I did with Erica. It'll be published. I'll probably publish it tomorrow. Today's Sunday. I'll publish it tomorrow probably. I may put it up today. I don't know. Tonight. Whatever. But it's just interesting how we think about it. Like, so she was like, so I'm like talking about the spiritual path of business. Anyways, to get back to where I was. And so she's like, and she's like surprised. So I told her that, I paid $5 for a pair of shoes and I was able to sell them for $145. Okay. Not all the deals are working out in that manner for me. But this did. And so she was like, kind of like surprised by that. Like, why, she's like sorting that scenario out. Like, me as this, I guess, this spiritual guy, and a very, because she knows that I'm not going to buy a pair of shoes for $145. So like, like she was just kind of like sorting it out in her mind what I'm doing, and I'm talking about the business being a spiritual path to help me be more useful and help me to build something, because I can build this eBay business and pass it on. My daughter just had a daughter. That means I have a granddaughter. And as these times of uncertainty come along, and I'm not going to be here forever, there will be some point in the future, I hope it's a long, long time from now, where I check out and die. It could be tomorrow. It could be in 50 years. Who knows? But I want to be able to have something to pass on where she can just like, okay, I can like show her how to do this business, and I can pass on something that's worth a lot of money. There's already inventory. There's already this thing in place. And so Erica's asking me, so she's like, so the measure of a man is, you're saying is having more money, and then like that, partly that, and then what I would add, which I don't think that I did with her, it was, yeah, and also being able to fight. So be able to make money and be able to fight. Okay, does that sound too simple? What if a man can't fight very well, if it's like, frail for whatever reason, or disabled in such ways, or whatever, that he's not making very much money, and so she's contrasting that with our inherent divinity, which can be argued with our inherent evil. If you look at what we're doing to the world, doing to each other, doing to the earth, you can make the argument either way of our divinity or our evil, right? But so this inherent spiritual nature that she's talking about. Okay, yeah. So just because a man is maybe no longer physically or financially useful to another, doesn't mean he can't be spiritually useful also, in many different ways. So maybe he has wisdom to share. Maybe he has an example. Maybe he's a terrible example. Like, oh, I don't want to be like that. Right? Does that make sense? So even though someone is not even good, it doesn't mean that they're not useful. It's kind of a, kind of a weird one, but yeah. So I'm going to start to wrap it up here. I hope this was coherent enough, and the oversimplification of a man being able to make money, to be useful and be able to fight and not have the fear, and just to keep going and not be dependent on others, and not encourage others to be dependent. It drives me bonkers when I see these posts from fully physically capable men feeling entitled to someone else's money. They should get free college, or their student loans should be forgiven. They should get free health care. They should get free this. They should get free that. And they should get whatever they think of. And it's that rich guy over there should pay for it. And my thinking is, no, that's weak. So what I hope for you is you to find your strength, and it's never ending journey. Okay, if someone's coming to you and says, I've reached enlightenment, listen to what I have to say. No. But if someone's on the journey, and even if they don't say like the enlightenment, or if it sounds lame like the mystic or something like that, people that are trying, people that are going after the greater good, and they have wisdom to share about that path. They've made mistakes they can try to help you avoid. They have successes they can help you achieve in a faster time than they did. Okay, that's part of why this show is called Path Notes. Okay. I don't claim to have all the business answers, but I am on the way. When I had some really good things happening on eBay, I made videos about it because I want other people to share. Those videos are still valid. I stopped making them because I had to change my thinking a couple weeks into me seeing, the sales are up, wind's blowing, we're doing good. Oh, fuck. Have to change course. Take the sales down, don't know which way to put them. But I'm still trying. Okay, the store's closed, going online. Auctions online. Okay, doing that. Not sure how that's working out yet. Okay, I told you my difficulties. Two of the pairs of shoes came in. I have them listed. One of the pair of shoes apparently is being held even though they took my money. Okay. But if everybody does what I said I'm doing, then it won't work. It would flood the market. So I thought maybe it's better if I don't tell exactly what I'm doing and just more try to inspire others to think in a way that instead of looking to be saved from someone else or looking to blame someone else, like look at yourself. What can you do to be more useful? What can you do to become more independent and useful to others? How can you help other people? You don't have any money, maybe you can help them move. Maybe you can mow the lady's lawn across the street. She's old, she broke her leg. Maybe you can mow her lawn. Maybe you can take her trash out. Maybe something. You can do something. So there was this. I think I'll just start to wrap it up here. I think I went on for long enough, and there's this quote from it's from the show King of the Hill cartoon. A lot of you are probably very familiar with it, but there's a Native American on there, John Redcorn. He said, "My people have a saying, when you ask the Great Spirit for strength, he sends you difficulties, which make you strong." See you next time.